don't jump in head first. Assess where you're at and where this technology is in the context of your business. And don't just involve those people who are like, yes, this is going to be the greatest thing ever. It's going to solve all of our problems. You need to also involve the people who are going to step back and say, hey, this is a risk. Then, you look into what is best practice and how can we be compliant? How can we protect the data that we are handling?
Welcome to the People in Legal podcast. This is the Law and Beyond show, and I'm your host, Chantal McNaught. And we're exploring everything there is in the legal universe that is law, legal tech and compliance, education and academia. And in this special careers episode brought to you by Novum Global, we will be discussing all things legal tech career with our special guest, Claudia Simpson. Claudia Simpson joined Law in Order in 2018 as a litigation support clerk and quickly progressed through roles in legal services operations before moving into business analysis. Now in her 8th year, she serves as a senior data governance and business analyst, leading customer data and privacy initiatives, software development programs, and change management, all while contributing to the ISO 20001 compliance as part of the information security team. Claudia credits her growth to saying yes to opportunities and to the mentors who supported her journey. With a sociology background, she brings a people-first approach to technology and governance, ensuring ethical, compliant, and practical solutions that empower teams and drive innovation. So you can see why I'm very excited to have Claudia on the show today. Without the support of our podcast partners like Novum Global, we can't bring you these episodes, and all editorial decisions remain with me and the People in Legal editorial team. Welcome to the show, Claudia.
Hello, thank you so much for having me.
It's such a pleasure. Wow, you have grown quite a lot in your legal tech career in Law and Order since starting so young. What has kept you engaged with across so many aspects of the business? And like, where are you now? But also briefly, how did you get there?
Yeah, well, as you said, I am in my 8th year at Law and Order, so now a senior data governance and business analyst, a bit of a tongue tire of a title. So yes, I'm responsible for customer data and privacy and our software development program, and of course, member of the information security team as well. Like you said, started in 2018 as a litigation support clerk on the operations floor in Sydney. So think print, copy, scan, all of those good things. I then moved into a management role as a team leader on the operations floor. So that was a high pressure environment, very time sensitive delivery of client materials. Then I took on an additional role as a training coordinator as well. So I think I credit that to the start of my change management kind of experience, which definitely led into my BA role. Interestingly, the turning point for me, I undertook an internal consulting internship. So it was, that was successful. I was offered a role as an e-discovery consultant. Then, curveball, same day, I was offered the business analyst role as well. So I took on the BA role, which was the right decision for me. Was working with all service lines and departments. So it kind of fed my passion for helping people. This was the right fit and kind of kept me engaged across the business. Then in 2023, I was offered the data governance privacy officer role as well. In that space, I was isolating areas for improvement of our data governance practices, change and supporting. And that was all supported by my extensive knowledge from operations and, of course, my BA role. Knowing people and practices means you can make informed and more impactful differences.
What a career trajectory, and it sounds like you're really well supported. I did have a question though, because while I'm fortunate enough to be married to a business analyst of 15 years, and that's not necessarily the case for a lot of our listeners. So are you able to, I guess, break down some of the basics of what a BA does and what you've learnt very briefly around BA
Absolutely.
in your roles?
Definitely. There are quite a few different types of BAs, really. In my role, I'm predominantly responsible for our software development program. So what that means is meeting with stakeholders and users to understand their requirements, often just in plain language, and really drilling down into their needs. I then go back to my team, my wonderful developers, and I translate my those requirements into technical, actionable stories that we can innovate and build off. Aside from that, I'm also responsible for change management across the business. That doesn't necessarily mean with our own products or building our own products. It may be bringing in, software from external vendors, and many, many, many different initiatives. So, in my role, at least as a BA, I obviously have the software development side, but I tend to be kind of a catch-all when people need that help to change from one practice to another. And I do love that part of my role.
It is such a people oriented set of skills, isn't it? And, I think this really flows on to the next couple of questions that I have for you around, your opportunities to develop and how you've ended up being championed and you now also champion others. You mentioned how Law and Order is an organization for people who are willing to take on opportunities and, because you say yes and then you get those mentorship and support. What does that mean for you and how has that shaped your career in your experience?
Yeah, absolutely. Well, as you can see from my career trajectory, Law and Order is definitely a place that offers opportunity to those who are willing to say yes. My career has been defined by that. This environment's allowed me, I think, a foot in the door in an otherwise kind of inaccessible industry. If you're not a lawyer, how are you working in the legal space? As a young woman, I'm proud to have found myself in a position to champion positive outcomes for my colleagues, our clients, but also by extension, our communities. I think the core part of how Law and Order has supported me. Aside from this, Law and Order has consistently supported me through continuous learning. I actually worked and studied full time at the University of Sydney, undertaking an arts degree in sociology and English. Law and Order supported me through this, giving me the flexibility to do both. And there's many stories like this across. Yes, it was intense, but it was so worth it. And there's a lot of stories like this across the business. Some of our most core individuals in the organization started right where I did. And like me, they have a really deep understanding not only of our organization, but the legal services industry as well. So I think all of these things together make not only Law and Order stronger, but better positioned to help our clients. And again, by extension, our communities. That's something I don't ever want to forget. The work is vital and important.
Yeah, and I'm so like nerdily excited to talk more about the that sociology point because as we were talking about off air as well, like that's I touch on sociology in my own PhD thesis. So it's really nice to have somebody who understands, but also you understand on a different level because you're serving the legal universe, you're serving the lawyers in what you do, even if that is a little bit indirect in the sense of, well, the position that you have now is really supporting the teams that then go on to support the lawyers. But you clearly have like that fundamental understanding about the why and how Simon Sinek talks about it's about the why.
Exactly.
And how like without trying to bandy that academic word of sociology, it's really like this the science of understanding people and how people interact with each other, how we do things and accomplish things, what makes us human. I'm currently reading I like to read really dense things I've realized about myself. And so just bringing it up here because I keep forgetting what it's actually called. It's by Ray Dalio, The Principles for Dealing with the Changing World Order. And
Interesting.
it is really interesting because he's like a markets guy. So like he builds wealth by, trading on like big shifts in the markets. And you wouldn't think that would be too closely linked to sociology, but then then he cites a whole bunch of sociology
Yeah,
work.
I would
Like,
say inherently linked, definitely.
well, yeah, and that's basically what his thesis in this book is that him and his team looked at the data on a lot of the changing trends in empires and civilizations and how they've changed. And I want to, before I digress too far down that rabbit hole, as I have a tendency of doing, but bringing it back to that whole point of understanding who we are can help us help each other
Absolutely.
in what drives us forward, because what makes us uniquely human is our ability to innovate and change our environment and make things better for the next generation. Planting a tree, not because we get to enjoy it in our lifetimes, but because our generations after us do. So
Absolutely.
yeah, that's gotten existential very quickly.
As
But
sociology tends to do, for sure.
honestly, it's just so impressive. Like, I didn't do my bachelor working full time, but you completed yours whilst also working full time. Like that one is incredible, but also how has that social understanding of the theories of sociology and your innate curiosity influence how you've approached this kind of intersection of technology, law, obviously some corporate governance in there as well, and society? Or has it been the other way around? Has your role at Law and Order, like, had that initially enlivened? No, you must complete this study. Tell me more.
Very interesting question. I think I do get asked, well, I did when I was undertaking my degree. People would wonder, how can an arts degree contribute to legal services and tech, or basically anything outside the realm of kind of arts and sociology? I would say my social understanding and curiosity is what drives me, and that comes predominantly from my degree. At work now, I'm driven by a need to build in ethics and regulatory compliance with functionality and efficiency. Some people look at that and say, Claudia, you're a bit boring, but it is a passion, it's true. Importantly, my curiosity is what kind of keeps me engaged and pushes me to try and understand the bigger picture when it comes to technology, law, and society. Obviously, within the realm of our organization, but also kind of looking outside of that, at the bigger picture and trying to understand where are we headed, and are we asking the right questions, and are we making ethical choices. I'm also in a great position within my organization to play a part in the intersection of social responsibility and the legal services space. We have our CSR collective. So my work in this group spans initiatives like the United Nations Global Compact, sustainability, anti-slavery, and even things like lifeblood donations. We, have a great team that are supporting all of those initiatives internally. And I think beyond this, my role requires me to speak to just about every single person in the business, those onshore and offshore, our clients. Having a people first approach means actively listening and acknowledging individual experience and expertise. Ultimately, working with these people in this way improves outcomes across the business because there's an honest and open dialogue, which is founded in respect. And I think a lot of that mindset comes from my time studying sociology, and that kind of innate interest and curiosity that's driving me.
I think you absolutely nailed that question of, chicken and egg that I lobbed at you. So, and I don't think that too many people even know in themselves about what drives them. And I think it's a real gift to have that sort of level of introspection so that you can continue to go forward. On another note, though, because I don't think compliance and governance is boring, I think it can be quite sexy.
Yes, it's true.
So,
It's true.
and it is, because exactly what you said, like, it touches on everything that you do. So it's like, if you find that, like, you automatically want to go, oh, when you hear compliance, and oh, when you hear governance. Like, I was talking to a gentleman, he's done a PhD in governance, and he said this really
Wow.
interesting thing, and I would like to present this to you as part of this conversation. He said you cannot comply your way to performance.
Mm.
And so I think this is kind of leading up to the really big question that I have for you around ethics, sociology, how those things encourage us to ask, should we, rather than just can we, and how that mindset, especially now in the era of AI, where somehow everybody is going like, does anybody actually ask, does it have AI in it, or is it like more of everything's just being put, like AI is in it now, so it's like you buy a bag of peas and you see on the label now with AI. Like,
Yeah,
it was
it
a
feels that
meme I
way. It
saw
feels that
online,
way.
and I'm like, I'm going to carry that with me to everything I
Hmm.
do. But like, what informs that kind of thinking and approach? And now that I've like lobbed a whole bunch of thoughts to your notes
Don't worry,
probably
I
aren't going
have
to be that
thoughts.
helpful.
No, I have
Great.
thoughts in return. Don't worry.
Unfiltered. Let's go. Give me your thoughts.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I think you touched on a really important question. You know, asking, should we, not just can we? Of course we can. Of course. The tools are there, and with the right people, it's not overly hard to implement these initiatives, particularly when it comes to AI. Um, and I think it's the same with a lot of emerging technology. Um, we can all acknowledge that AI has its space in legal tech or just tech in general. Whether it be automating workflows and improving outcomes of discovery, transcription, all of that. The possibilities are literally endless. That being said, and this I think comes a lot from my work in our information security team, working with our incredible IT department, and of course, my development side, and then of course the governance side. Guardrails are required, absolutely. For example, law and order, we take information security incredibly seriously, obviously, with ongoing compliance and certification under ISO 27001, which gives us the tools necessary to meet our obligations to our clients and, of course, our staff. We don't do this just for the sake of it or just to be seen as a trustworthy partner. We do it because we want to be a responsible caretaker of client data, our staff's data, all of it, and we genuinely care about mitigating risk.
Do you think though that having the guidelines like ISO can be really helpful? This is that whole compliance
Mm,
and performance thing. Do you think though that having those sorts of boundary lines can actually aid innovation, because it's basically
absolutely.
permission to be like, hey, rather than having here's this massive blank canvas
Hmm.
where you do have to go, should we, like, we can, but should
Hmm.
we?
Absolutely. No, I completely agree. I mean, something we're looking at internally, we have we're actively working on a strategy internally for AI and that kind of innovation, working with an excellent team of experts across the business. We're looking at things like, ISO 42001 AI
Mm.
systems. And, whether it be ISO 27001, ISO 42001, you're not following it blindly. You are still looking at it within the context of your business. And in fact, these certifications ask you to do that. And so, of course, like the regulatory landscape is always evolving in parallel with this technology, particularly with AI and particularly within the legal services space. If there was any advice I could give to anyone, it would be to don't jump in head first. Assess where you're at and where this technology is in the context of your business, and don't just involve those people who are like, yes, this is going to be the greatest thing ever, it's going to solve all of our problems. You need to also involve the people who are going to step back and say, hey, this is a risk, because they're the ones that are going to call upon those guardrails and you look into what is best practice and how can we be compliant, how can we protect the data that we are handling. So these guardrails are important. Set them before joining the race, so to say. It's something that we have done internally, and it's not something that's just one and done. As I said, the technology is ever evolving, so is the regulations. We need continuous improvement and continuous learning.
It is something that governments really do need to consider implementing regulation around this, because regulation can encourage that innovation. It can help those teams know that it is okay to keep pushing forward with the production, the productivity,
Absolutely.
without having to feel as if, oh, government's team or compliance team or legal are slowing us down, and which
Hmm.
often can be what it feels like, and then that creates a lot of like tension and friction within teams.
Absolutely. Yeah, it has
So
to go hand in hand. And that's what I'm saying about, you need to have these blended teams. You need to have those who are all for, and not necessarily, people who I don't know of anyone who is all against, but you need to have, I guess, maybe the conscientious objectors or those who are going to step up and say, hey, let's put the brakes on this a little bit and let's really knuckle down into what this means for us.
yeah, and I really read it as it's not so much where it's, a hold. It's more of like that engineering term of
Hmm.
planning and preparation prevents piss poor performance.
Yes, yeah. Truly, truly,
So,
absolutely. I think that might be the motto of my entire career, really.
so it's
Yeah,
like, yeah,
planning and prep.
yeah, but then you perform.
Yeah.
Great. And without it, like this is not going to be a snooze fest. This isn't a snooze fest. Like, I think this is a fantastic conversation. And on that note, though, like this whole governance piece can be really daunting for law firms. And it seems though, from the sounds of things, Law and Order has it all covered. You're demystifying it for yourselves, and it's something that you're obviously really heavily involved in. How do you think that we can make governance feel more like a natural part of this innovation piece? Like, you know, it's clearly seen as a bit of a hurdle at the moment, but I don't think it has to be.
No, it doesn't. Not at all. I mean, at least to me, governance is about how can we achieve our goals or support those who are undertaking the work? How can we build and maintain trust and, of course, manage our assets as well? Um, I guess my advice at the core of it is maybe it's been a theme actually through this whole conversation is don't make it an afterthought. Build it into operational processes and workflows, obviously policy and compliance, software and organizational values, and of course, training. And this isn't just across those who may have governance in their title or chief this or
Mm,
head of that. It has to come from every layer, and everyone has to understand why it's important. And I think that's a strength that we have at Law and Order. Everyone, whether you're a litigation support clerk on any one of our operation floors, whether you're in our e-hearings team, our e-discovery team, everyone understands why we again have these guardrails, have these rules, and have me popping up every week being like, hello, let's do a compliance check for this. They understand why that's important,
mm,
not just for themselves and their workflows, but also our clients as well. So it's multi-layered. Aside from that, you have to have those that are responsible. You need to assign these tasks to someone who hopefully is curious and looks at it in maybe the way I do in terms of it's not boring, it can be exciting, it can be a process of discovery, and make sure that those people are abreast with, of course, best practice and changing regulation. There's been a lot changing in the privacy space over the last couple of years. There is always something new to learn. But most importantly, I think, from my perspective, is it has to come from the top. I think that's with any initiative. Again, it's something that the international standards ask for. You need to have, management buy-in, leadership buy-in.
mm.
Leadership needs to meet the needs of those undertaking governance and give them the tools to succeed. That doesn't necessarily mean getting this system or, that compliance platform. It can simply mean giving them the time to move through often really complex environments, particularly if you're just building in governance. And also with the knowledge that they're going to be met with acceptance from all those that they cross paths with, I think is the important part.
Wow. That is incredibly practical advice of, starting from the top but understanding the why. Or what I was thinking when you were saying that was the context of tranche 2 AML coming in for the transactional
Yeah.
lawyers, that so many that I've spoken to in Australia so far are a little bit lost, even though Austrac are highly encouraging, and they've got some really great training, free training, people.
Yeah.
And
Do it.
you don't just like, it's not just the vendors that are doing free training; it's Austrac themselves, and
Mm,
they're very open and transparent about the sorts of the reason why, like why does that information and those things need to come into place. And it's not about turning a lawyer into a investigative,
mm,
police person. Like it is actually about can be about protecting your own customer base and your other clients
absolutely.
from nefarious actors, and also like our community safe, because
Yeah.
we don't want weapons to be proliferated, and
hmm
in order to proliferate weapons they kind of need money.
Yeah,
So
exactly.
yeah, and then all the way through, like, as when you were saying about everybody needs to understand why it's important. It's like that whole cybersecurity training. Like I love doing cybersecurity training, because it's always like, oh, there's always something new. It's like, oh, I didn't know they could use
Yeah,
QR codes for that.
exactly. Of course, definitely. And I mean, if having almost selfish note to it kind of helps people, these things that you learn and that you're doing, sitting at your desk at your corporate job, help you in your personal life as well, and can help the people around you, your family, your friends, all of it. So, um, but yeah, I think, going back to you saying that the advice is practical, it has to be. Like you said, it can be mysterious. It can be difficult to navigate and understand what we need to do. Obviously, me taking on the data governance role in 2023, I've only been doing this for a couple of years, and the learning curve was steep.
Mm.
Thankfully, we have a great, team internally that supports, our Chief Digital Officer, Maruli, our Head of IT, John Ozturk. They are, also members of the information security team, and have not only kind of paved the way in terms of my growth and learning, but are continuously supportive of these initiatives. And having our Chief Digital Officer and our Head of IT across the organization being such supporters of these initiatives, and being like, yes, we are going to make the time for this. That's what I mean about, the leadership. They also have to genuinely care.
I think we've come to that part where I shuffle some cards really terribly,
Yeah,
and I make guests very nervous, because this is the conversation topic no one prepares for,
no prep.
but they're always so delightful.
I'm sure it'll
And
be fun.
I'm really excited. This conversation, we can talk for hours, and it's very fun. So, oh, if you had to be in isolation for 2 weeks with just three other people,
Wow.
who would you choose and why?
Oh my goodness. Okay. I'm assuming living or dead. That tends to be the general kind of
Oh, you can apply your own rules in
your
in
own
that
rules.
respect.
Okay.
Yes.
Oh my goodness. All right. Gosh, I was asked this actually not that long ago, which is quite strange. So let me have a think. Okay, well, I mean, one thing about me, so we've spoken a lot about the sociology side of my degree. That was one of my majors. My other was English literature, which I think, feeding back into that curiosity thing, that's a huge part for me. So I think honestly my answers are going to be a little bit nerdy, which maybe
Great.
tracks as well, considering we're talking about software development and, data governance, compliance, all of that. But I think three people in isolation. Probably, I would say one would be Brandon Sanderson. He's an author, a prolific author. The Way of Kings and Mistborn and things like that. Again, very nerdy. Perhaps another would be Probably my husband, because he's just my best friend. He's very funny. I think he would.
And you
Um,
could cope with being in isolation with
it's
him for
true.
2 weeks.
Yes, yes, absolutely. And then maybe one more. Oh gosh, this is a very difficult question. Um, One more. Maybe let's go another author. Their name is V.E. Schwab. Their work is excellent. Almost won Book of the Year, Dimick's Book of the Year this year. I was the finalist. And yeah, their work changed my life this year. So I think that's probably my maybe strange top three list for isolation buddies.
Oh, that's fantastic. Well, we'd have to tap into your latent literature talent there, and maybe curate a little bit of a book list
Oh,
for listeners.
definitely.
I think
Yeah,
that would be
more
really
than
fun.
happy. No, for the yeah, fantasy and sci-fi nerds out there, I'm definitely your
Yeah,
girl.
and there's a lot you can learn in fiction, and that's
Absolutely. Again, I mean, ties back in, right? I think how can we not, or literature, particularly, fiction, it's pushing us to understand, the bounds of our reality. And a lot of our current technology is coming from the imaginings of people, 75, 100 years ago.
yeah.
So in that way, we can definitely be looking into the future.
This has been the Law and Beyond show on the People and Legal podcast. If you haven't already, give us a follow on your chosen platform that you're listening to this. And if you're watching on YouTube, please subscribe and make sure you turn on notifications. We will see you next Friday.